Welcome back to More Law on Fox 19, your legal questions live, with local broadcaster and award-winning reporter Deb Haas and Cincinnati personal injury attorney Don Moore, recognized by Ohio super lawyers. More answers, more help, more law on Fox 19.
Welcome back to More Law, where we are talking about kids in trouble. We will get back to the phones in just a moment, but Don, you had a picture that you wanted to show. I think this is a great example of a picture tells 1,000 words.
Yeah, it really is. This is a case that we handled some time ago, and this was an 18-year-old he just turned 18, and he was involved in a motorcycle wreck, no fault of his own. Unfortunately, he got a broken neck out of the deal, and the significance of the change in age was a really big deal. Had he been under 18, we'd been in probate court asking for their permission to get a settlement. They would have been supervising the money. Everything would have been different. Since he was over 18, what that meant was that no one had any control over anything. So basically, whatever we're able to get for him, he has total control. He can release it. He can manage the money or mismanage the money any way he chooses. So that 18 is a big deal. And you've got probate court, you can have juvenile court, and of course you can have domestic relation court, all that have jurisdiction over a kid under 18.
Okay, I know we have another caller on with a question about a kid under 18. Melissa in Western Hills, you had a question about your 14-year-old son. There was some harassment, I believe you said?
Yes.
Can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what's happening?
Well, a couple weeks ago, my son was playing, and he was down the street playing, and a couple boys started harassing him. So he come home and was playing in the backyard, playing basketball. We got a basketball hoop. While the boys came in the backyard, one of the boys grabbed my son's private part and said some very vulgar things to him, and my son basically beat him up. And they put it on the social network. Well, the cops came to the house after I had spoken to the mother and let her know what happened and everything. She said it's no big deal. Well, apparently she called the cops because she's seen the video or whatever. They came and arrested my son. They never knocked on my door to let me know. They called me, and I had just had back surgery, so I went to sleep. My husband was cooking. We didn't even know our son was in jail until 2.5 hours later. Well, now my son can't even go outside and play because I got videotapes of them coming up and down the street, calling him names and everything else.
So you're trying to figure out what to do about these other boys?
Yes. And like, what can I do to keep my son safe but still let him play outside? They come in our backyard after him.
Kim, have you had circumstances similar to this that you or your institute have dealt with?
We have, and it really becomes a matter of when somebody who's victimized also then sort of lashes out, and what you can do on both sides of that. You know, some cases when they go to juvenile court, there are, and I don't know the circumstances here, but sometimes there are diversion programs or there are programs that the court sets up really for less serious kinds of offenders to again mediate or to try to look at the root causes of some of that. You know, kids go through this sometimes in adolescence, and sometimes the next year they're best friends. You just don't know. It is serious. You know, we always recommend that people talk to the parents of other kids that their children may be experiencing difficulties with. When it gets to be a court matter, then you do get into another realm. But again, they're there to help and to try to bring some resolution so that these kids can be safe.
But one of the things that I suggest, and we talked a little bit about off the air before we started this morning, was when a lawyer is necessary. And if your kid's facing possible incarceration, in this case, this kid was put in jail for a time. That's serious business. That's a good time to get a lawyer involved who does juvenile work, is familiar with the juvenile court system. One of the other things that you should know, Melissa, is that ultimately you can be responsible for the injuries caused by your son, and there are defenses, but ultimately for an assault or for vandalism, you can be liable for $10,000 to $15,000 personally as a parent. So that's pretty serious business, and a lot of people don't know that.
Okay. No, go ahead.
If I could just re-emphasize that, Melissa, it is really important that if your child is involved in the system right now, often on lower level offenses, you know, parents sometimes want to get it over with, and so they don't always involve a lawyer. And he would be, you know, generally speaking, most kids are entitled to a lawyer once they enter the juvenile court system. So, you know, we really encourage people to take advantage of that as being part of the solution in terms of trying to help kids navigate through the system. So it is really critical.
You know, just one other thing, and that is that I don't think most people know that kids in juvenile court are not entitled to a jury trial.
That's correct.
I didn't know. I'm learning something again. Every single Monday morning, 9:30, I learn something new.
We're doing our best.
Oh, thank you. Let's see. We have Pat in Avondale. Pat, you had a question about how long a juvenile record stays with the child. Is that right?
Yes, and also a second question. How long are the parents responsible for that child once they reach the age of 18? You know, and after?
And we just have about a minute or so to answer that, and we'll take another break.
Yeah, you know, all states have certain provisions regarding sealing and expungement of records after a certain period of time. Ohio has some now. Actually, there is a bill pending, part of the governor's collateral sanctions bill now, that would really change and would grant a lot more protection for kids if it passes in terms of being able to seal records. If it's in juvenile court, kids aren't considered to have a conviction, so that's really important in terms of job applications and some other questions that might ask. In terms of parental responsibility, you know, there are, after the age of 18, kids are considered as an adult, and so, you know, generally they're responsible for themselves at that point.
Is there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think that Kim's covered it very well. Essentially, you get adjudicated delinquent on a charge of something if the kid is, quote, convicted, which is, they don't use convictions in juvenile court, but it's a little different in verbiage, and that can make a big difference when you're doing a job application or something after you're 18. You haven't been convicted. Okay. That makes a difference.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a break right now, but we will be back taking more calls about kids in trouble. We'll be right back. Kentucky and Ohio Bar Associations require we give the addresses of the attorneys on the show, so here we go. Kim Brooks, Tandy, the Children's Law Center, 1002 Russell Street in Covington, 41011. And of course we have Don Moore on Nimitzview Drive, the Moore Law Firm, 1060 Nimitzview Drive, Cincinnati 45230. You can get all that information, Fox19.com. Thank you for being here. This half hour flew by.
Thank you.
You wanted to
Glad
say,
to be here.
I think that there are a lot of resources for parents, and your website is definitely a big one of them.
Absolutely. And again, it's children'slaw.ky.org. We have a parent's guide on there to the juvenile justice system. We have a number of videos and a number of publications that we've done on a variety of different juvenile law topics.
So we have your website, both, it was on the screen a moment ago, and it's also on Fox 19 at More Law, so anyone can find it. Kim, thanks a lot for being here.
Thanks, I've really enjoyed it. It's an important topic.
It really is. This has been great and something not a lot of people know about. Next week, we also have a great topic that is hurt on the job. Mike Weber, an experienced workers' compensation lawyer, is going to be with us, and he's going to answer people's questions about the workers' compensation system. How can they get paid, what they need to do to make it happen.
Okay, great. We're looking forward to that. Again, thank you for your time today. And that's all the time we have for More Law on this Monday morning. We will see you next week at 9:30. Thank you for joining us.